organizers of the planned hardship nationwide protest to shelve their plans. Well, the National Assembly also today speedily passed the new minimum wage. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the program. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimalo here in Abuja. Well, today we have some very critical business for us to tackle. On one hand, is Dangote the controversy over the Dangote Refinery and production and the back and forth between Dangote Refinery, the NNPCL, and the federal government. Well, we are also going to be looking at issues relating to the minimum wage that has been speedily passed. And of course, we also touch on some of the issues relating to the planned the nationwide hardship protest. What are the issues? What are the legal issues? The federal government is talking on one hand. The Nigerian police force is talking on one hand. We've heard the minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike. It will interest you to know what he said today. I'll be bringing you all of the perspectives tonight on the program. So sit tight, everyone, and let's first and foremost let you know that there's some alteration and some adjustment done to the budget. But in the National Assembly, one major story that stood out was seems to be some applied force and pressure to speedily pass the national minimum wage. So today, the Senate and the House of Representatives passed the National Minimum Wage Act 2019 Amendment Bill. The bill, which scaled second and third readings at both legislative chambers in the National Assembly just minutes after it was transmitted by President Bola Tinubu, was instantly passed separately by the red and the green chambers. In a unanimous vote after a close consideration in the Committee of the Whole, the National Minimum Wage Bill scaled third reading and was passed at the Senate. The House also passed the bill immediately, just like the Senate did. President Bola Tinubu is expected to sign the bill into law. All right, then, we will be bringing you insight, deep ones, legal analysis on the major topic of tonight. My guest is one person that you love to listen to. You will love to hear his perspective. But first, before I bring him on and for you to get to meet him, let's check out some of your political roundup stories.
The Senate President Godswill Akpabio has apologized to Senator Natasha Akpoti over the statement he made, which has generated a lot of criticisms. Senator Akpabio last week interrupted and stopped Senator Akpoti while she wanted to speak on the floor during plenary. The Senate President told the Kogi senator to wait for a turn, and the Senate is not a club, a statement which has been described as one uttered in disrespect to the female lawmaker. The National Assembly has passed the Police Act Amendment Bill to enable persons appointed to the Office of Inspector General of Police to remain in office until the end of the term stipulated in the letter of appointment. President Bola Tinubu forwarded the bill to the House of Representatives and Senate on Tuesday to amend the tenure of the IGP. The bill expeditiously scaled second and third readings and was passed by lawmakers in both the Senate and the House of Representatives at separate sittings. Meanwhile, the federal lawmaker representing Imo East Senatorial District, Senator Ezenwa Onyewuchi, has defected from the Labour Party to the All Progressives Congress, APC. Majority Leader of the Senate, Okpeyemi Bamidele, announced Senator Onyewuchi's defection during plenary today. Similarly, a member of the House of Representatives, Salman Idris, has also defected from the African Democratic Congress, ADC, to the APC. The lawmaker, who represents Kaba Bonu Ijumu Federal Constituency in the Green Chamber, officially announced his political decision in a letter read on the floor of the House by the Speaker, Abbas Tajidin. A call to repeal the laws governing State Independent Electoral Commission resonates as Yaga Africa engages stakeholders on how to enhance the integrity of local government elections. The Election Transparency Advocacy Group believes strongly reiterate that there is an urgent need to strengthen local government electoral system as against a call from some quarters to scrap the existing state independent electoral commissions. The candidate of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) in the 2024 Edo governorship election, Asue Godalo, has asked the electorate not to indulge in vote selling and vote buying, as he insists that the outcome of the polls solely rests in the hands of the electorate. Mr. Godalo gave the advice during a town hall meeting in Benin City, the Edo State capital, as he warned that the enticement received from politicians in exchange of vote could lead to a 4-year of misery. Lastly, the governorship and deputy governorship candidates of the Zenith Labour Party for the September 21 governorship election in Edo State, Bishop Akalame and Joyce Udubo, of the belief that putting money ahead of other key decisions will do nothing to help produce leaders capable of bringing development. The duo, who spoke to electorates and party members during the flag off of their campaign in Benin City, the Edo State capital, advised would-be voters to maintain the consciousness that knowledge drives the modern-day economy and vote along that line.
Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us right here on the program. So the planned nationwide hardship protest is getting the Nigerian government worried, especially because of a possible fallout of that planned demonstration. But the President, Bola Tinubu, has appealed to all Nigerians to shelve the planned end bad governance protest slated for next month. The Information Minister, Mohammed Idris Malagi, will brief the selected State House correspondent after a meeting with the President earlier today, says that the President is urging the protest organizers to shelve the plan and await the President's response to the complaints. Take a listen to him.
The issue of the planned protest, Mr. President does not see any need for that. He's asked them to shelve that plan. He's asked them to await government's response to all their pleas. He has listened to them, like I said, and a lot is happening. Only today, the National Assembly has expeditiously passed the new national minimum wage. You can see how the President is working. It was transmitted only yesterday. Today, it has been passed. A lot of other interventions that the President has also put in place are also going to be looked at expeditiously in the interest of Nigeria. So there's no need for strike. The young people out there should listen to the President and allow the President more time to see to the realization of all the goodies he has for them.
All right, then, there you have it. The minister, after meeting with the President seems to be worried about what could be a possible fallout. Look, the President is saying, we are going to be listening and doing what Nigerians want. But in fact, is the protest giving the government some kind of pressure? This end bad governance. That is what the protest is being tagged. A period of rage on the street by some Nigerians who are saying that they need to protest what has become a major hardship issues in the land, whether or not the government is listening. Yesterday, the Nigerian Labour Congress warned and said the President and the federal government must listen to Nigerians. Of course, a lot of things are happening too. My guest tonight will also be giving us insight into what is going on in respect of the Dangote Refinery. I don't know how many of you had read what Mr. Adeshina of the African Bank has said, written. That will give you an insight into the implication between what is happening with the private entity, the NNPCL, and the federal government. A lot has happened. My guest tonight will be giving us insight into all of these issues. I'm being joined tonight on the program by a very well-respected Nigerian lawyer, right activist, senior advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, joins us live from Lagos. Thank you so much, Mr. Falana, for joining us tonight on the program.
Thank you, Sean. You are welcome back from your leave.
Thank you so much indeed. I appreciate it. Let's get first and foremost, before I get into other issues, this planned end bad governance protest has been planned by some citizens. It does look, from what the minister said, you heard him, he's asking, speaking for the President, he's saying, look, the people of Nigeria should shelve these planned protests and actions are being taken. He also made a promise that we're going to be hearing from the President. Is that kind of narrative, that kind of rhetoric, is that what you think should be coming out right now?
Well, for me, I think the government is lucky this time. In 2020, there wasn't a notice given by young people before embarking on the NSAS protest. I've followed the debate and the concern of the government or the worry of the government. The government has not denied the right of Nigerians to protest for or against the government because that is a constitutional right. But what I think the government is worried about is the possibility that violence might occur. Again, from my experience, in protests. I mean, I've taken part in protests for over 40 years in the country. Young people or workers have never gone out determined to engage in violence all the time. Violence had always occurred going back to the 70s when students are shot, unarmed students are shot. The last time, people are now destroying our history, distorting our history by saying, oh, in 2020, young people were violent. No. The young people took part in the protest, in the NSAS protest, gathered in different places. In a place like Lagos, they gathered in Alausa at the secretariat. They also gathered at Lekki. And they were singing and discussing among themselves. People were giving them food. What happened was that the attack on the youth started in Alausa here when a notorious transporter in Lagos, a notorious union leader, sent his thugs to attack the unarmed youths in Alausa. They overpowered the thugs, but the police did not arrest or charge them. The same thing happened in Abuja, in Benin, in Port Harcourt and other places. And of course, until the government decided to unleash people you call hoodlums and thugs on the young people. When that did not work, the government sent troops, armed soldiers, to engage in killing of young people. In 1 week, about 99 people were killed in Lagos. I don't want to talk about Ogbomoso, Ibadan, Port Harcourt, and Benin, and other places where young people were shot at, where young people were killed. So the violence that characterized the end of the NSAS protest was instigated and fueled and sponsored by the government. This time around, I think the government is beginning to learn from the past. I mean, last year, the Nigerian Labour Congress wanted to have a protest in solidarity with ASU during the strike. Oh, he said, no, you cannot go on strike. Hoodlums might take over. And I drew the attention of the government to the relevant provision of the Police Establishment Act of 2020, Section 83, subsection 4, that during protest, the police shall provide adequate security for the protesters. That is the law. So what should be done, or what is expected, if there's going to be a protest and there's an announcement, is to ask the protesters, where do you want to gather, so that the police can surround the place and ensure that hoodlums, so-called, or thugs, normally employed by politicians, deployed by politicians during elections, will not take advantage of genuine protests in the country. And I think that is what the government should do now. Try and identify the organizers and collaborate with them to ensure that violence will not occur.
So let me get you to reason with some of the issues that have been raised. And those who will say one of the strengths of the NSAS protests, on one hand, was that there were no leaders. There were no persons who are in the front. There were just people who, according to the organizers, organically were leading the protests, who identify as possible on-the-spot leaders. There were no organized leaders, although there are some people who are doing the strategy in the corner. And there are those who will say In fact, that was the major problem of the NSAS protest because it didn't have an organized leadership. And then when things went south, there was nobody to be able to hold accountable, and there were no leadership to be able to put it together. And these are some of the issues that have been raised, that if you allow the kind of violence, for example, that we saw in the 2020 NSAS protest and the aftermath of what we saw in Kenya, yes, the people of that country spoke loudly, but it has left businesses in Kenya burnt, destroyed, and brought down. How can we avoid this sort of situation, Mr. Falana?
Yeah, number one, what they call it, young people call it leaderless revolution. And I mean, we know those who, the government, officials of the government, know that their children participated in the protests of 2020. I know my own children participated in the protests of 2020. And when you ask the young people, why don't you have leaders that the government can talk to? Say, no, this is a sudden protest. We are compelled to have this protest. Once they know our leaders, the government can easily call them and bribe them or intimidate them and stop the protest. So, but they had a way of contacting themselves. And I think that is the lesson the government can draw some lesson from that experience. How do you identify those who are using statements, those who are planning the protest, and then engage with them productively? But threats will not work. In fact, on some occasions, the desperation of government also has a way of popularizing such protest. And when you are also getting some leaders of some phony organizations coming out, oh, we are dissociating ourselves from the, you didn't plan the protest with them. That will not work for the government. Or some last year, the Johannes came out to say, no, the Igbo people should not join the protest. Led by an Igbo man anyway, Joe Ajero. Oh, the Yoruba people came out, Refinery, faction of, oh, please, Nose Yoruba son should come out and join the protest. That will not work. Nobody listened to such, you know, warnings. So this time around, the government should try to identify the leaders of the movement and then engage, you know, have some dialogue with them. And then the questions being raised, there are demands that are being made. The government should address this demand. And between now and the 1st of August, it's still a long way. And it's happily, you know, I understand the government is going to address the nation. And it is also important for governors to really come out and let the people know what they are doing to address hardship in the country, which nobody is denying. Suffering in the country, which nobody is denying. And then you still have governors say, oh, we're not going to be able to pay a minimum wage of 70,000 naira. That is not the kind of language that you expect leaders, you know, the type of statement that leaders should make at this point in time.
So, Mr. Falana,
I think a lot depends on the government.
Let me ask, is it fair, though, to want to stage a revolution protest against a government that has spent just about a year in office?
You know, Sheung, you know, when you talk of revolution, right? You don't go to the market to announce a revolution. There are objective factors in the country for a revolution. But whether this, you know, the agents of revolution around the corner is a different matter. And that word is used loosely in the country. Sometimes officials of the government use the word. I mean, I remember when Shiwore was being tried for treasonable felony for attempting to stage a revolution protest, you know, and the SSS official that came to give evidence, I had to ask him, are you aware, will you recall that President Buhari commended the Egyptian revolution in 2011 and said such a revolution to take place in Nigeria? He said he was aware, you know. So when people talk of a revolution protest or whatever, demonstration, it does not mean that we're going to break the roof of our house. It's a question of, it's a challenge to the government that reforms are no longer working. You need radical measures to address poverty in the country, to put an end to importation of fuel, right? To control your currency and not float it, to address youth unemployment, to address the security in the country. For me, I think this is a message that the government will have to take very seriously.
But I was going to ask you, Mr. Falana, if
debates in the country.
If you look at what is happening, the government is making allegations that some of these plans are politically motivated, and that's one issue there. Are you worried if there's any lesson to be taken from?
I think the government, I think the government of Nigeria is lucky. In Accra, Ghana here, all the anti-government protests are organized and staged by the opposition party, the NCC. Whenever the NDC is in power, is the NPP that organizes protest. In Ghana, in South Africa, even in Kenya before the youth protest, is the opposition political parties that organize protests in this country. So here, we only expect labor, the labor movement to stage protest. But in some other countries, political parties do not talk only of election. They also challenge the government in power. So protests of this nature, of course, are political because the program of the government are also political. Operating a neo-colonial peripheral capitalist system is a choice of the government. It's political. And so victims of human rights abuse in the country may also decide tomorrow, we want to end oppression in our country, brutality. Whereas the laws are taking care of that. So the duty of the government is to look at the law, the welfare laws in the country. How can we fund welfare in our country to ensure that we do not have young people or political parties asking people to go to the street and embarrass the government?
In the Fourth Republic, the 2012 Occupy Nigeria protest, in which you were a very prominent figure, one of those who led that protest, was one of the most significant events of the last 17, 20 years in Nigeria's political space, which led to the forcing out of a government of Goodluck Jonathan. It really battered the image of the Goodluck Jonathan government because that was a really major event politically for Nigeria. And I imagine that, Mr. Falana, you might also be joining these End Bad Governance protests. We see you lead from Lagos where you live. But the question is that if from 2012 there have been clamor for the removal of subsidy, and Bola Tinubu comes into office and says, this clamor has been there. His very close allies and friends were also part of that protest. Now, he has come to the office. First thing he did when he got into office was to remove protest. Subsidy on fuel. So the question would be, this has been the agitation, and someone has come into the office to remove it. Why then the agitation against his action, and what has become a spiral effect of that decision?
So, you know, Nigerians are unfair when they talk of only the protests in 2012. In 2010, the same forces still protests in Lagos and Abuja when the cabal in the presidency, when the Buhari cabal, Yaradua cabal said Jonathan would not be president of Nigeria, would not even be acting president. The same forces went on the street at the risk of their lives to say there is a constitutional provision for the transfer of power in Nigeria. People have forgotten that. Those who later came to become, to accuse those who staged the 2012 protest, never remember that, you know. So the point I'm making therefore is that people have the right, it's a constitutional right to protest for or against the government. Now, when you talk of those who protested in 2012, not taking part in other protests, too bad. But what is important is that Nigerians are saying, you have removed fuel subsidy. What of the gains, if any? Why are we still importing fuel? And now, what has happened to our refineries? What has happened to this Dangote refinery? So people are bound to ask this question. The duty of the government is to address these problems, these questions, openly and frankly and honestly, and ensure that you convince Nigerians that the government is looking for solutions to this problem. If you talk of removal of fuel subsidy, what have Nigerians benefited? Whatever will have been the gain have been eroded by the floating of the naira. And people are asking questions. Why are you floating the naira? Because it's against Section 16 of the Central Bank Act, which is that the Central Bank of Nigeria shall determine the value of the naira vis-a-vis other currencies. But we are now told market forces are determining the value of the currency. It doesn't happen anywhere in the world. And so Nigerians are asking these questions. Why are you, a minister had just said that 40% of the loan given to Nigeria by the World Bank, is stolen? No. I would like to say no. What they simply do in those agreements to say, the machinery you are going to bring to the country for the execution of the projects covered by the loans, the consultants will come from certain countries, the goods will be bought from certain countries. So at the end of the day, what you come to Nigeria will just be about 40%. And out of the 40%, part of it is stolen by some reckless people in government. So our countries are acquiring loans without any basis. So we're already sabotaging the future of our young people. So we must now begin to ask questions. Where are you taking this loan? To service a parasitic bureaucracy. So these are the issues the government will have to address.
Mr. Falana, I wanted to play to you. I would like to play to you two sound bites which have come out on these protests, which it looks like the federal government and the security agencies are also monitoring what is going on. But I wanted to know, would you be joining that End Bad Governance protest, Mr. Falana?
No, it's going to be difficult for me to say that. No, Sheung, I do not know the organizers. And I'm a political person. So if I'm going to take part in a program or an event, I must know what it's about, who are the people behind it, so that I also do not end up,
but Mr. Falana, do you have interest in politics now? Aside from wanting to become governor of Ekiti State years ago, I don't know, you declare that you are a political person. In what sense? Can you clarify, though?
So I'm involved in mobilizing Nigerians, right? To terminate oppression in our country, to terminate exploitation in our country, to control the resources of our country, which are immense. So I am involved in the process to ensure that no Nigerian goes to bed, hungry. No Nigerian will get to the hospital and not be treated with our resources. I'm part of the program very soon to end public officers going abroad for medical treatment. If we stop that, they will fix our hospitals. So that I'm a political person, and it's not by joining APC or PDP or APD, that you get involved in politics. I'm also involved in setting up a socialist party in Nigeria.
When will that happen? Is it going to be ahead of 2027?
The destruction of our country by capitalist people.
This political party that you're talking about, Mr. Falana.
To that extent, I'm a very political person.
Yeah, this party you are saying you are joining to form, is it going to be ahead of 2027? And you're going to be seeking some kind of election, isn't it?
No, come again.
You talked about you joining forces to form a political party. When is this political party coming into fusion?
What, a lot of mobilization is going on across the country. And very soon, Nigerians will know that we are bringing back politics of ideology in our country, politics of issues, and not politics of religion, ethnicity, and other primordial sentiments. Very soon.
All right. We'll be hoping to see how that happens. Who are your friends that you are in this together? Who are those that are in this? Can we know them? You and who are the others?
Not yet, except to say that we are working with positive change agents across the country. Revolutionary forces.
Is El-Rufai or Peter Obi part of it?
Nigeria cannot develop as a nation under a peripheral capitalist ideology.
Is any of these persons I mentioned part of it? Is Peter Obi, Pratutomi, El-Rufai, are they part of this amalgamation, this amalgam of people?
No, again, as I said, I'm not in a position to open up yet. But very soon, Nigerians will know who these forces are. We are also going to fight imperialism. Countries and institutions that are promoting underdevelopment, not just in Nigeria, but in Africa.
Okay.
So it's a big project.
We'll be looking forward to that. That sounds interesting to me. I would like you to talk to me. I mean, I would love to see a departure from the left of the center ideology of political parties that we've seen in Nigeria. It does look like it's a toss between left and right. We would love to see something totally different, a departure. But before we go on a break, let me show you, Mr. Falana. Yeah, let me show you this. What the IG said earlier today, and he said they will be monitoring. Take a listen to Mr. Kawade Egbetokun, the Inspector General of Police.
It is important I address an issue of urgent national importance which appears to have gained some momentum, particularly on the social media, in the past few weeks. Some groups of people, self-appointed crusaders and influencers, have been strategizing and mobilizing potential protesters to unleash terror in the land under the guise of replicating the recent Kenya protest, the Beku. While the force acknowledges the right to peaceful protest as enshrined in our Constitution, we must ensure that these protests do not snowball into violence or disorder.
All right. Mr. Falana, that was earlier today, the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Kawade Egbetokun. Please, hold that on one hand, on your left. Let me give you yet another soundbite. This one coming from the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mr. Nyesom Wike, whose concern is the political nature of this planned protest. And I'd like you to respond to it. Take a listen to Mr. Nyesom Wike.
The protest is a political protest. It's those of you who are worried that, yes, everybody's not happy that there's hunger, everybody's not happy that there's unemployment. But this unemployment was not started or was not created by this administration. And the administration is just trying to put things together, which of course will take some time. And you know, I agree with Nigeria, when you're hungry like this, you don't want to, listen to anything again because you're hungry. But understand that somebody's trying to solve that problem of hunger. So let us not listen to political protests, political jobbers who just want to be popular.
Yeah, I'm due to actually take some messages from the commercials. But before then, let me allow you to respond to these two soundbites. On one hand, the IG, and it does look like the security agencies are not taking this lightly. And on the other hand, the FCT minister. How do you react to some of these soundbites and these statements, Mr. Falana?
Sean, I'm going to react to the statement of the Inspector General of Police alone. I mean only. I'm not going to join issues with Mr. Nyesom Wike, for personal reasons. The IG has spoken very maturely, and according to him, it is the constitutional right of Nigerians to protest. And nobody can take that away from us. But the idea said if you are going to protest, it must not snowball into violence. Again, this is where a duty has been posed on the police under the Police Establishment Act to find out where protesters would like to go to, and then ensure that adequate security is provided. And I'm also sure that no reasonable Nigerian will want to go out to protest with a view to damaging government property. Again, as I said, the violence that occurred in 2020 and whenever, whether you're talking of Adekunle Ojo protests in the University of Ibadan, Kunle Adekunle in 1971, or Kunle Ojo in the University of Lagos in 1981, or you are talking of Ahmadu Bello University in 1986, when 4 students were killed, and the Vice Chancellor said only 4 students were killed, and that led to a nationwide protest by Nigerian students. So whichever you look, whenever you look at our history, again, even going back to colonial days, Nigerians will want to go to the street with placards, not with guns, to express themselves, only for security forces, right, to rain bullets on them. That's what you call violence. And so we must learn to have peaceful protests in Nigeria. In fact, there was a time, I think it just suggested, that in every city in Nigeria, we must have places like Hyde Park in London where you can have a protest. What happened? We used to have the Unity Fountain in Abuja. Then if I any park in Lagos, the government at a stage decided to make it impossible for Nigerians to stage protests in this area. So when they go to the street, problems have arisen, and security people are not there to protect the protesters. What then happens is that so-called hoodlums are unleashed on the protesters. That's why you have violence.
All right, Mr. Falana, let's take a break now.
That's why you have violence.
Yeah, let's take a break. But when we come back, I would like to get your views on the Dangote Refinery and Dangote oil production controversy. The saga looks that is continuing, and it has a big implication on the economy and on international investment perception of Nigeria on the global stage. I'd like to get your view. Of course, Mr. Dangote has come out to speak on this matter. We've heard Mr. Melekiari of the NNPCL. He has also responded about mortar production. What is really going on in our country in this respect? We'll be back to talk more after this break, everyone. Join us again.
It is new, it is unique and of international standard. Maduka University. Maduka University, a modern university of international standard with modern facilities for learning, committed to training entrepreneurs across different fields of human endeavor, offers admission to students in different courses such as law, accounting, medical lab science,
cybersecurity, mechatronics,
mass communication, nursing, pharmacy, ICT, computer engineering, civil engineering, JUBE program, and a lot more. Maduka University is located in an environment of serenity, safety, and security at Ekwebe, Nsukka, Enugu State. For more inquiry, visit our website, madukauniversity.edu.ng, or call 0805 509 1802 or 0915 789 3107. Maduka University, the place for the transformation you seek.
The Duchess International Hospital caters to every aspect of the family's health needs. A one-stop shop for maternity and child health services, emergency medicine and critical care, medical and surgical subspecialties, dental and eye care, and a range of other subspecialties and services, all available at a single location right here in the heart of Ikeja. And it really doesn't matter if you're paying out of pocket using your HMO or private insurance. We focus completely on providing that world-class affordable healthcare for all the family at all times.
See how sweet they like beans and rice. And those people, I will never leave your side. I will never ever. I dedicate my time forever. Time to you, my people. Even if the road be rough, I know mine. 'Cause together we shall stand.
My people, make we all come out on election day and vote Olumide Osaigbavo Akpata, Una guy, as governor of Edo State. He ready to change our story and bring better life for we and our Pekin them. Vote Labour Party, the party for Papa, Mama and Pekin. Make we vote well, oh. Oludi, confirm. Now you be our guy. Labour Party, forward ever.
Olumide Akpata.
Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Mr. Femi Falana, a very senior lawyer, rights activist, and we're still tonight declared to us that he's a political person, has been talking to us tonight from Lagos. Thank you so much, Mr. Falana, for your time. Let's switch gears now and speak about a major controversy that is concerning the Dangote Refinery oil production in Nigeria and the reactions we're getting from the federal government and the NPCL. Just a few days ago, Mr. Aliko Dangote has been reacting to the allegations in some quarters that product, especially of diesel, coming out of the refinery are substandard. He also was speaking to the allegations of being taking monopoly of the industry. And he said that some of his friends who had warned him about investing in Nigeria are now laughing at him, is now a laughing stock amongst his friends and folks in the business world. Let me allow you to listen again to what part of what Mr. Aliko Dangote, a foremost Nigerian industrialist, is saying in the wake of all of this saga.
Another complaint that I had, which I think the Right Honorable Deputy Speaker also raised with me, say, okay, why did we drop the price of diesel when we started? We drop it from, is it the bad quality we are producing or what? I said that no. Even at the 650 ppm and 700 ppm that we are producing was a better quality than what was, imported. And I'm sure, Your Excellency, sir, most of you have problems with their vehicles. Either you have had or you are still having problems with their vehicles. It's because of the bad fuel that we're importing into the country. I still stand by what I said.
All right. That is part of what Mr. Dangote has said. In fact, he somewhat opened some can of worms when he alleged that some officials of the NNPCL are involved in some production backdoor in Malta. Well, we're getting some reaction, of course, from the MD and the group chief executive officer of the NNPCL, Mr. Mele Kyari. Let me give you an understanding of some of what Mr. Mele Kyari has said today in a statement that he pushed out, denying any kind of ownership or partnership in any kind of backdoor production of any product in faraway Malta. Let's get Mr. Falana to react to some of these issues. What do you think is going on really in these whole matter? There are a lot of conversations around why this kind of treatment is being meted on Dangote, the 20% stake of the federal government in that investment. And now the fact that Mr. Dangote is saying that he's willing to sell off his shares in that investment. What do you make of that?
Well, I've enjoyed the intra-class feud, or what you might call a dog-eat-dog affair. But it's at the expense of the country. And we cannot continue like this. A government cannot go around the world asking for foreign investment only to be accused of destroying local investment. It's very dangerous for the country. It is so embarrassing that we are telling the whole world that the government of Nigeria is so incapable to manage this affair that one person is monopolizing trade in our country. What is the purpose of the government? Is to checkmate any monopolistic control of any business in Nigeria. But what do you call a monopoly? If you have allowed your own refineries to be destroyed, what happens? Somebody now decides to have a refinery. That's a monopoly. What? There's nothing you can do about it. I thought what the government should be doing now. I've allocated $1.5 billion for the revitalization of the Port Harcourt refinery and $1.4 billion for the revitalization of the Warri and Kaduna refinery. The government should stop postponing the days of commencement of business in these refineries. The government should be in a hurry to get those refineries to work and compete with the Dangote refinery. How can a government go out and say a factory in my country is producing a bad product, bad fuel? What are you doing as a government about it? Why are you allowing Dangote to saturate the market with bad diesel? Very soon, bad PMS. So the ones you are bringing from foreign countries, the fuel you bring from foreign countries, adulterated fuel, foul fuel, destroying vehicles in our country. The government is helpless. Sometimes the government, we are going to set up a panel to deal with those who are bringing bad fuel to the country. At the end of the day, the government will not do anything. Now, what is this whole debate about? I have been very critical of the equity, the shares allocated to Nigeria in the Dangote refinery. In May 2021, the Federal Executive Council directed NNPCL to take a loan of $2.67 billion to acquire 20% shares in the Dangote refinery for Nigeria. I have criticized that figure by saying we must quantify the contribution of the country to the refinery. Only to be told now that our 20% shares have been reduced to 7.2% by the NNPC, albeit illegally, because the NNPCL does not have the power to overrule the decision of the Federal Executive Council under the current political dispensation. So where do we go from here? It is for the government to go back to the drawing table. If there are problems with the Dangote refinery, you must sit down. But if you don't have a laboratory, you can't say that fuel is bad or diesel is bad. You must take it to your laboratory. And where is that laboratory located? We must know it. 2, you must now stop this childish, very puerile argument about, somebody wants a monopoly. It's not the business of the government. And that's why you have the Federal Consumer Protection Commission to deal with anybody who wants to maintain a monopoly in business in the country. Now, the government must go back to the drawing table. If a factory is likely to employ 500,000 people, young people, the government must try and embrace that company and see what can be done. But for me, I'm not interested in the argument whether Dangote wants to compete or not, or whether he wants the government to give him a special dispensation. My own position is, and the NNPCL must address this problem. since the 70s that they ran the refineries at grant. The country's refineries are grant. The 445,000 barrels dedicated to domestic consumption. Please go and refine it. The 445,000 barrels should be refined in the Dangote refinery, so that this shame of an oil-producing country, and Nigeria is the only oil-producing country that imports petroleum products. When we had no refineries, we were exporting crude oil. Now that we are having refineries, we are also exporting, we are importing crude oil to be refined in Nigeria. This shame must stop. These guys have their own intra-class problems. They should solve them and stop exposing the country to unbelievable ridicule before the whole world. So for me, I mean, the arguments of the government are rather jejune. And the government, the President Bola Tinubu must call these guys to order who are embarrassing the country by saying a company is so powerful in Nigeria that is producing bad fuel and we are taking the product. So it's not acceptable.
So let's get
say that when you have a government.
Yeah, I'm worried. I mean, and my worry is very. The reason for my worry is this. First, we heard this seems to be the entrance into the frustration of Mr. Aliko Dangote in all of this. He first and foremost raised an alarm over the hurdles from the IOCs in getting product into the refinery. Later on, there were issues as to the stakes. Afterwards, there are issues as to the allegations and the kind of push and pushbacks coming from the regulators within the industry. So one will ask the question, if Mr. Dangote has come forward to say, hey, I have a problem. He's supposed to be one of the biggest refineries globally, out in the world. In fact, the biggest that we can see in Africa, not only serving Nigeria, serving, the largest, I would say. Now, and he's complaining that IOC are frustrating me. Again, he's come out to say, look, what is causing all of this is officials of the NNPCL who are blending some of these products through the back door in Malta. Mr. Falana, what do you see?
Sheung, I am saying Nigeria has a stake in the Dangote refinery. For me, it must go beyond the 20%. And if anybody has shortchanged the country, because of their own refinery outside the country.
But Mr. Falana, maybe you are referring to a news that is now stale. That stake is now questionable because we do not even know. We were hoping that the government will come out to tell us how much is the stake, what is the percentage of the stake, because at some point we are hearing that, in fact, maybe there are no stakes any longer. The stakes have been reduced and all manner of stories that are coming out.
Sheung, who reduced the stake? I am saying we're entitled to more than 20% in Dangote refinery. So the government must not regard this as a Dangote affair. We have a stake there. Secondly, we must get the EFCC and the ICPC to investigate the allegation made by Mr. Dangote that these guys have a plant in Malta against the interests of Nigeria. Money stolen from Nigeria, money criminally diverted from Nigeria to set up the plant. So we must get to the root of that allegation. Furthermore, all the controversies, all the arguments about bad fuel and so on and so forth with respect to the Dangote refinery must stop. Because these are embarrassing to the people of Nigeria. What Nigerians want is an immediate end to fuel importation, and not that importers will continue to dominate our country. So I'm happy that Mr. Dangote is learning now what some of us have been saying over the years. The IOCs control the country up to today. They do not allow the country to know how much oil that is produced. So they have frustrated the country from having meters, to install meters in all our fuel stations. They have made it impossible. They have also refused, these IOCs, to build a refinery in the country since the 70s. And the government has not had the courage to challenge them. These IOCs are so powerful to the extent that they are owing the country $62 billion from their failure to pay certain royalties for 18 years. The Supreme Court ordered the federal government go and collect the money. The Attorney General then, Mr. Abubakar Malami, said, wrote to them. Another minister, Mr. Silva, came out to say, no, this is not possible. We cannot collect such huge money, but we may have to negotiate with them. Okay, what has your negotiation yielded?
Yeah, Mr. Falana, we are out of time now.
As the former governor of Rivers, and Mr. Emmanuel Udu went to court to say, federal government, if you are not taking this money, we want our own stake. We want our share. And the Federal High Court gave them judgment that you are entitled to $3.1 billion.
Mr. Falana, yeah, I mean,
we have an explanation on that. So these guys are very powerful.
A lot to learn.
Mr. Dangote has just discovered that now.
Yeah. So I mean,
we're not in
I'm
control
worried.
of our country.
I would love to have gotten your response on Mr. Dangote's position to say maybe he's going to sell off his shares, and what this means when we're seeing some foreign investors who say they're packing up and going back to their base, their HQ, and we're one who's worried the implication of this to FDI, foreign direct investment, and those who are looking to Nigeria for investment in the moment that we need production. I just have 20 seconds to go, Mr. Falana. What would be your final word on this?
I'm opposed to, I'm opposed to foreign investment. I want Nigeria investment. And nobody is going to invest in this economy if you are frustrating your own nationals who are investing in your country. So the government has a duty to protect local investors, to encourage local investors and promote local investments so that our people can take control of our national economy, which is not the case now.
Mr. Falana, thank you so much indeed for your time tonight. For the life of me, I don't know how I feel right now. I feel so bitter. I feel so angry. I feel so disappointed that our nation's so blessed. Are we going to blame God that there are no natural disasters? And I mean, we have oil deposit and all of these natural resources under the ground. There is no excuse for our nation to be very big, but yet it does look like human beings are the major problem of our country. We have so much oil, we cannot refine. 4 refineries for over how many years? They are not working. Oh,
40 years. 40 years.
I mean,
40 years.
So sad. Where do we begin? But thank you so much, Mr. Falana, for your time tonight. Thank you, everyone, for being part of this program. I'll see you tomorrow, God willing. Bye for now.
Wow, look at that. Until recently, I had no idea what a pangolin was. Man, this thing is strong. It's a small mammal covered with scales made of keratin, just like our nails. Strong scales, man. The scales has no medicinal value, yet the demand for the scales and the meat is driving the pangolins to extinction. This one's name is Igai, and it was rescued from illegal bushmeat trade. It's going back into the wild where it belongs to keep the ant population in check. Home sweet home. Please say no to illegal bushmeat and report wildlife crime, because poaching steals from us all.
Did you know you can access electoral information with just a click? Introducing Nigeria Elections, an inclusive artificial intelligence platform that guides citizens on Nigeria's electoral and civic landscape. Say bye to misinformation and disinformation. Visit www.nigeriaelections.ng today. Nigeria Elections, addressing